Well, the Mic'd Up Show is in such high request these days that we tend to have these spin-off shows to help educate the lenders out there and the vendors out there who, as you know, our show is for those that maybe cannot attend conferences, want to know what is going on, and want inside track on who the players are at the conference. And these are two of my favorite people. I always say I've been to 100 conferences, so they've probably been to 200. And leaders in the space that we'll be diving into today. This podcast and this live stream is specific around the ICE conference 2025, right around the corner, this coming Monday at the Wynn in Las Vegas. And it will go all the way through Thursday with jam-packed different tracks for another show, but it has secondary, it has servicing, it has MLS for another show. And then most importantly, it has origination. So you'll have a bunch of different lenders from all around the country. Many are on at least Encompass, now known as ICE. Some are on Power, now known as ICE. And we will have a little bit of a decrypt, which is what the Mic'd Up Show has when we want to learn about some different parts of the mortgage industry. And I'm actually excited about this because I pretend I know a lot about it, but I don't. Everything I know is from Curtis at ResTech, run by Rick Hill and the Mortgage Bankers Association. Curtis was very active in anything IRS. And I always say as well, I give out the Jeff Gentry Award because when I grew up in this industry, you know, he was the one that came over and made me feel welcome. And we hope this show helps other people go into the conference season a little bit easier. So thank you guys both for coming. Do you want to just give a quick intro and please tell us about your company? The purpose is so that people have an understanding when they come over to booth 320.
Yeah, sure. Let me kick it off and then Jeff follow up, man. So Mike, we're stoked to be on here. So a little bit on NCSS1, so National Credit Reporting System. So we're a 40-plus-year-old company. So we have been the pioneers in all things IRS transcripts, right? Which is good, ugly, evil, sometimes good. But we have been pushing this thing for a long time, and actually pretty stoked at what we've been able to pull together with this 8821 stuff, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And of course, on the Service First side, we have all the credit reporting and typical CRA reseller products there. So we've been in that credit reporting space for an awful long time as well. So real quick, that's our 30,000-foot view. Jeff?
Company's been around for a very long time. I've actually been with NCS now for almost 12 years, which people, when I say that, people are like, oh, wow. Are you just glutton for punishment or what? No, I actually really enjoyed it. Kicked off my career at another CRA a long time ago, back in 2001. Joined these guys in 2013, and it's been a very fun ride. He mentioned with NCS. NCS is our product development company mainly, and we've done a whole bunch over the last year or two with the 8821 being direct provider to the IRS. Also, we just completed for Encompass, for ICE, the EPC integration. So, I know that a lot of lenders out there, a lot of vendors out there have been working on that or wondering what it is and everything. And so we did get ours completed, and we're ready to roll. And so we're ready to share that with everybody at this conference.
That's great. And we do want to get into who you are, but we'll actually put that at the end because we really want to, for somebody listening, short attention span, this is to educate them and give them a reason to know you as they come over to booth 320. So here's the quick table of contents of what we're going to go over today. We are going to touch on 8821. Obviously, that is new in the industry. At least I believe it's where the puck's going in the industry, maybe is a better way to say it, right? Verification costs. Everybody is wondering what's going on with FICO, Vantage Score. I don't know how much you want to get into that, but I heard someone say the other day that it's good if they close 25% of all the pre-quals they take. A pre-qual should be looked at as a way to educate a buyer on how much they can afford, not an automatic commitment where the buyer feel, and that's why buyers don't always get the pre-qual. They're too afraid to, they feel like they're committing to something. My point is you do need different costs, whether it's, I kind of said more of like the reporting costs, but you need to pull hard costs. So you need to understand where that's going. Also verification costs. I'm sure like identity fraud is way up with AI, and then ASO and EPC integration. Jeff already hit our acronym meter for one, so dollar in the jar. But I think, you know, everybody's wondering, everybody's hearing all these great things about ICE and what's coming for the lenders and what the lenders can build in ICE. But, and I'm like in the middle of all of it. And I would say it's still, the more people talk, the more I can't get my arms around what the point solution is. Like there's so many different point solutions. Maybe that's just ICE launching everything with the cloud. So maybe we can get into a little bit of what are lenders thinking when they're going out there? What should they be talking about? Like what that ICE is saying is coming is really practical to start with, if there is so many. And then maybe we can wrap it all in a bow with just, I guess, cascade technology, right? Everybody's trying to cascade to lower costs before they get to the work number, before they get to different costs, and they're trying to figure out how to do it. And a lot of them are starting with just what's the lowest and how do I get to the, you know, the highest, and maybe you can educate us. There's other ways to do it. So let's jump right in with a mortgage decrypt.
Yeah, I would say all the ASO stuff, right? This automated service order.
Okay.
So this is that, right? So this is the solution from ICE, which really, to try to make it as simple as possible, is their cascade, right? So it's the ability to tuck in a vendor, right? And the nice thing is, from a lender perspective or originator perspective, it doesn't have to be all the same vendor. So if you wanted to put S1 in for something and then put another vendor in for this and for that and so forth and so on, you can, right? But it allows you to put the vendor in for all your process steps. So to fire off credit reporting, to fire off your flood zone, to fire off blah, 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 blah. And it allows you to wrap rules in as to when you want that to fire off. So you can set all that up. Now, the tricky part of that, or the yellow flag, is you could set up rules that could fire off indiscriminately, or maybe not when you wanted them to fire off. You could inadvertently fire off, 400 credit reports that you didn't want to fire off, or 400 ABM. So you got to be really careful about the rules that you write, that you're testing them, pilot them, etc. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about at the show. We have some templates for lenders to plug in that have been vetted and tested, that they can test, that they can start as a baseline as they start to implement ASO. Any questions on that? Or Jeff, you want to tuck in anything?
No, I think that's, one of the things. But for a long time, I think Encompass did have a way that they could do kind of workflow stuff. But the way the new integration works is it just makes it so much more simple and easy to do. Not only make the request, but to get the request turned in, filling out all the fields in Encompass, and it actually creates quite a few efficiencies in doing that.
I don't know if you have any questions, Mike, but my question would be, where are they writing the rules here? Like in the past, it would be very, very field-based. Is there a new user interface? Like your templates you're giving them, I'm sure that would be very helpful and a reason to come over. It's almost like a lead magnet, like a free template. Where is that being ingested? Because I hear everybody saying they're going direct to the API. Is that, like, if you're not great at that, is that why you go to get a template?
Yeah, because that's how we set it up on our side. So that's the beauty of ASO, right? So you're able to do it on our side, so that we had to build all that out. So yeah, and because previously it was all within ICE. So that's the pretty part of all that.
So they would build it in your system, and then you would hit the the APIs for them, or are they building these templates in like a new interface coming that ICE is going to be announcing here at this conference?
Do I have CIO? Did I put CIO on the top of this cap?
No, but you know everything. I just figured. I just hear everybody say, "Yeah, ICE can do that now. ICE can do that now. ICE can do that now." So I was trying to.
Yeah. So the biggest, right, the biggest advantage is, again, with EPC and moving away from the SDK, is from our standpoint, is that ASO piece, which, again, you can do all that on our side there. Because I think, as Jeff was saying, I don't know if it was LO Connect. I don't think that was it, but it was one of those modules that they had where you could fire off all those different vendors. But I don't know if they had rules in there or not. Jeff, do you recall?
I don't recall that either. I know. Yeah, I just know that we can do it now.
Yeah.
What would be like a good use case for it?
Well, yeah, again, a good use case is credit, right? So, you can, and again, you can do a lot of this stuff. Like, you could do it within, so our CRA platform is Meridianlink. It's a licensed platform that we use for credit reporting. Now, you could set up all your rules and conditions within Meridianlink, or we could help you do that. But now it's all nested within ICE, right? It's all in one place. So rather than, going to us and updating your rules there, or going here, it's boom, it's all in one spot. So I think that's a big efficiency play too. And you can test it all in one spot. So I would say those are the biggies there.
I also think the other thing that we bring to the table is we're not just going to go out there and throw it at you and say, here you go. We actually have people in our organization that are going to be able to come out and help you and consult with you and find out, what do you guys really want to do? And then we'll be able to, they'll be able to go in and say, okay, well, if this is what you want, then this is how we will set it up for you.
Yeah, we've even brought in a bunch of consultants, right, that are helping out so they're going to work with the end user on all of those pieces. So, Mike, I think Lisa Binkley, our COO, is intimately involved in all things ICE. I mean, she's our SME when it comes to all the ASO stuff, along with our CIO. So, I think that's my message out here is that, whenever you come to us, and truthfully, again, I think most of the vendors are going to be doing this consultative approach because it's such a brand new offering, which is we're not just going to lay you out to the wolves. We'll walk you through it.
Does it carry over into not just at the origination side, but also into the secondary side when the loans are bought and sold? So all the services are carrying over as well, so that so this next servicer isn't going to have to worry about the forms.
So you're talking about the automation in ASO, or are you talking specifically about 8821?
8821.
So 8821, yeah. So the ability to order 3 years going forward.
Yeah.
So all of that is going. So when you order an 8821, right, and you'd have to put that originator's name on that form. So whoever that end user is, that's who has to be listed out on that form. And then we're going to have a process there, whereas those servicers or those entities longer term can come in and they'll be able to fill out one of those 8821s and they'll be able to use that going forward. So there's a number of different workflows that you can lay out there. Whereas if you know those entities that you're selling to, you can have the consumer fill out all that stuff at origination, or if it's later on down, we have a process for that as well.
I'm excited for the 8821 part of the show. So this is going to be our mortgage decrypt. Let's explain a little bit. Cue the intro, Anch, to 8821 mortgage decrypt. All right. So what was the origin of 8821? And then how long has it been in to get to where it is today? And what should lenders know about it that maybe it's not on their radar?
Yeah. So I know, like in, what was it, like 2003, 2004. So my father, who started our company, we were starting to sniff around that there had to be a better way to get these transcripts. Ives did not come around until 2006. So this was when we were still carrying 4506s by courier up and back to the IRS offices. So we had courier cars with safes in their trunks that we were running transcripts back and forth to Edison, to Ogden, Utah, and everything else. So it was a wild, it was a wild time then. So then Ives comes into place in 06, but he had known back in the day that there was, tax practitioners obviously have the ability to get these transcripts electronically, and did even, prior to Ives starting. And so we knew there had to be a better way there. So you have to be able to file tax returns on behalf of the consumer. So we brought in the CPA, and we were starting to file tax returns and all this other kind of stuff, right? So at the end of the day, that's really what 8821 is. It's a tax practicing tool. But it also has use cases for mortgage or anywhere where a consumer is permissioning, right, that data. It's a consumer permissioned product. I have to, as the taxpayer, right, I have to put in my name, I have to sign it, et cetera, or I have to release my transcripts from irs.gov, my irs.gov site. I have to release those transcripts to you. So that's the genesis of it, is that, we knew that there was a better way to get this above and beyond Ives. And so lo and behold, we came up with this, and that's where we are today.
And so is that something that you put in your disclosure package? Am I right there? Or is it an ordered service that you send out?
Yeah, so this would be, it depends upon how you're doing it, right? So if you think of the 4506C process, right, it's a form that you put in your disclosures, and the consumer puts in their wet signature or e-signature, and it goes along that way. But also, like 4506, you can permission that data by logging into your IRS.gov site and releasing those transcripts to NCS. So there's a whole process there where the consumer, we place the order, that order goes into the consumer's IRS.gov site, and then they release those transcripts down to us. So you can do that either through the Ives program or through the 8821 program.
And the whole thought of that is, if the lender and the consumer or the borrower have had, if they have good, tight conversations, and they do go through that, the irs.gov, where they can release it, we're talking 48 hours to 72 hours on a transcript that has a signed form. Or if the lender is sitting there, right, talking to the borrower, and he says, oh, well, if you log in and do this, then you can release those transcripts, right now. And then, we're talking almost instant transcripts.
Yeah, think about that within your POS or your LOS at origination, right? Now you're able to get that validated transcript data, income data. And remember, those transcripts, the taxpayer identification number on there, whether it's an EIN, an ITIN, or an SSN, that's all validated TINs that come back on those transcripts. So you get that information that gets punched in right at application. So yeah, that's pretty powerful stuff.
So is this like an octane fuel booster then to the 4506? Instead of taking two or 3 days, it'll take hours?
Yeah, so remember, what was it, last year, the year prior, the IRS launched that initiative where the consumer can release their transcripts. But again, you've got all of the constraints with Ives, right? And those constraints with Ives was, what was released on the 4506. So now with 8821, the biggie is the ability to look forward those 3 years. And also in certain instances, right? So with respect to NCS as a consumer reporting agency, right, we're not going to give you the full 20 years that you can go back unless it's for forensic underwriting, because you can go back 20 years. I can get 20 years worth of transcripts. But, unless we're talking forensic underwriting, we're limiting that to 5 years.
That's fantastic. And that's big. And that's something they're going to need help with. What I'm seeing on the scene, I'll tell you, here on the ground, is lenders are a little frustrated with some vendors that have had to downsize their their customer service. It's usually these large companies that have bought, one of these homegrown mortgage tech vendors, and now with things going a little bit, they're focused back on their primary business. That's the opposite of what your company's all about, and you two, always accessible and always smiling or just feeling like a friend while you're helping. Can you just talk a little bit more about your company and how you are doubling down on that, it seems, but just in general, how you are going to give that warm feeling even in today's market as we get ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll start with that, but I know Jeff can kind of bring that home. So I when you think of credit reporting, we truly are one of the first vendor faces or voices that your consumer is going to interact with, right? If you think of a credit supplement, which is ordered pretty quickly in some cases, and you got to have a conference call, you better make sure that that person that's on the phone with your consumer that's representing you, that they have been trained, vetted, right? And it's not just trained and vetted on FCRA and GLB, but trained and vetted on, customer service, and is reminded about who they're working for, right? They're working for the end user, right? So I think that's really important, as the culture piece. As a matter of fact, we did about 3-4 days here last week, re-emphasizing NCS's culture. I had Phil Huff in here. Phil's just an absolute stud. So he's one of the guys that we're working with now. It was really, really good time, well time spent. Jeff?
I think one of the things that I learned a long time ago is what we try to do is outperform the industry. Whether that's Kurt saying, okay, industry is supposed to show a 4% growth next year, I need you to do a 50% growth. Or our customer service, average industry turn times on supplements might be 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever that is. And we make sure that we get those done and, try to get those done in less than 12. So I think that, our company, when we get customers, they don't leave, no matter what. And Kurt's talking about credit reporting, where our customer service may be the first outside vendor that's actually talking to your borrower. And we need to, if we don't have good people doing that, then we're not going to, retain business doing that kind of thing, but we do. And, you're talking about some of these other vendors out there that are definitely looking at downsizing or have downsized over the years. We have probably had a 20% growth, I'm guessing, in employees over the last 2 years, maybe even more than that. And so our goal is, I'll tell you one thing too, with credit reporting and customer service, there is a formula. And a lot of times that formula is a certain amount of people. Well, it basically says a certain amount of people that are going to be working with the consumers, doing customers supplements and all that kind of stuff. Well, if we're okay with a 48-hour turnaround, then we don't have to staff up as much. From the day we started or bought this company back in 2018, that was definitely something that I was really, I put that in Kurt's ear, I put that in Lisa's ear, and I was like, so maybe our margin is down just a little bit, but we're keeping our customers happy, and happy customers talk to other customers, And so on the sales side, we've definitely seen quite a bit of growth through referrals as well.
Yeah, I believe
through
that.
the growth stage a few years ago, and then through the trough that we experienced, was there any customer service lags that you experienced during that time period, or was it pretty much business as usual, so that your customers will be able to expect the same standard of service, whether the business is high or whether the business is low?
Yeah, so in a lot of the products that we serve, they are manually fulfilled. I mean, we have staff that are involved in it. So you can think of VOE, you can think of the credit supplements, all that kind of stuff. So you do try to stay a percentage above your capacity, right? A considerable percentage above. But yeah, we do have, we have all those formulas laid out as to how we've got to staff up. And I would say there was one point, I don't know, around 22, where, yeah, we definitely got knocked on our heels a little bit. And I would say that's pretty much everybody within the space. So, it does happen. I mean, it does happen. If you get a hard spike, you're going to have to respond rapidly. So I would say probably the thing that we do a better job of, right, is making sure that we have all of those tasks and positions very well laid out. So all of our positions within the organization all has a video series for tutorials on how to train people up. So you come here, you're going to have your whole video series of your whole training. You got everything mapped out on books. And so we get people pretty rapidly trained up that way. So that's a biggie, right? If you're talking HR, that is a main part of your organization, you've got to be able to rapidly bring them up to speed. I would say we do a pretty good job there. And, Michael, real quick, I think you and I have talked about this a lot, these transitional technologies, right? I'm talking about DOE, and of course, there's all these database solutions for, verification of employment, whether it's a work number, et cetera, et cetera. And, at the end of the day, if you look nationwide, again, the best that you hope for that coverage, best you hope for is about 33%. And so the rest is going to go down to a manually fulfilled VOE. And Michael, what we actually saw when we had the slowdown was that a lot of vendors were pulling VOE back into their shop. Right? They wanted their staff to continue to remain productive, and they didn't want to lay them off. So they pulled those VOEs from us and brought them in-house. Well, now, as everybody's getting ready for what's coming, we're seeing that start to reverse again. And so, again, you've got to be squared up. But it's a transitional technology. I know we will get there where we are going to have the vast majority of our employment data that's going to be able to be accessed near instantly. But in that meantime, you have to have a manually fulfilled product that's easily reportable. That was always the thing that we heard with a lot of DOEs that were in the marketplace, was that I feel like I'm dumping it into I place the order, it goes into a black box, and I don't hear much until it's done. So, for any this is always my advice to lenders. Make sure that whatever vendor you're working with, their reporting is top notch. You don't, just from your LO's perspective, you don't want your LOs or your processors not to know what stage any product, right, is in. For VOE, has 3 calls been made and there's no answer, or 1 call, or whatever the case might be. Your reporting as a vendor needs to be top notch, not just for your enterprise clients, but for all of your clients.
Yeah, that's why I keep saying the industry has a long way to go for consumer engagement and communication. You hear it at the conferences as if it's all figured out. I see constant tweaking on the back end, like how we started off the show, right? The ability to build these new waterfalls, cascades, etc. But what you're saying about the VOE, and I think the problem with that is it is so fragmented on the type of person on the other end at that company that's getting it on the phone, the fax machine, right? Filling it out, the personality types. It reminds me a lot of why we created Easy Mortgage apps was you would have the complaints at the end as a loan officer, and you were trying to tell them, the ball was in your, but I was thinking more of like, it reminds me a lot of early day appraisal management, right? Like where
Yeah, sure.
no one was updating the loan officer, and it could have been an easy call and said, "Hey, Jeff, that number you keep ignoring is the appraiser. Can you please call him back and schedule?" Right? Oh, I'm playing phone tag. Well, the point was, we were trying to show them when the ball was in their court and when they took 4 days. So when they were complaining with 2 days to go, it wasn't just an avalanche of blame. It was, hey, and this seems similar too, where if you could communicate to the loan officer, hey, we just reached out to the employer, no answer. The communication at some point in the future should be, hey, borrower, call your HR person. That last call 2 minutes ago was, and if you don't get to it for 4 days, then, so I think that's I think where you guys are going, focusing on that communication is vital. It's in those little cracks of where the overall consumer experience will get better, and it is going to be slow, like you said. Glad you're helping out manually, because it is going to be manual for a while. There's
Yeah,
very few of me telling them to go digital on
it's going to be
VR.
a lot of these bridge technologies, RPA, right? So you still have all these fragmented pieces, these different systems that people have to go to get their information, that aren't easily connected with an API. So yeah, that's the thing is I think as a solution provider, and Jeff, I want you to speak to this. But as a solution provider, we have so many products under our roof. That's the advantage of working with a consumer reporting agency. So if you think, from the bureaus to LexisNexis to PitchPoint to blah, 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 blah. So I just tapped on fraud, credit, ID, income, blah, 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 all that stuff. You got to be able to bridge all that together. And then the last part is get that into their LOS or their system of record.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when we're talking about how many products we have, it seems like every year we had like 40 different credit products. Maybe it's a mix of one or a mix of another. Maybe it's these 3 bureaus, but only one credit score, just to save some money up front. I think the last thing that I want to kind of touch on too real quick is, we had mentioned up front about credit pricing. Over the last 2 years, FICO has increased their prices by over 600% to the repositories that then gets passed down to the CRAs, to a point now where the FICO score is more expensive than the credit file itself. So one of the things, again, we're talking about cascades and we're talking about soft inquiries. But there are a whole bunch of ways that we are finding ways for our customers to save money these days. And, it does involve cascades. It does involve maybe not using all 3 FICO scores up front, that kind of thing. There's also programs out there for FHA and VA loans now that you can do a soft inquiry and actually close the entire loan without having to pull a hard inquiry. So there's some new things out there that our team can definitely talk to you guys about. Excited for the ICE conference coming up. Again, booth 320. That's where all the stars are going to be.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. My theme is you need partners, not projects right now. And you sound like the partners everybody needs, and you have plenty of strategy, cascade options, and plenty of options, as you just listed off, Kurt, and everything can be in one place so that they can focus on some of the headwinds coming to our industry. Get away from those projects, lenders, and head over to their booth and find out what a true partner is.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about last week was the Eisenhower decision matrix. If you guys have never seen that, I would encourage your viewership to take a look at that. But it's about deciding what is important versus what is urgent. And there is a big difference between those two. And when you think of projects, you need to align what is important versus what is urgent. Urgency doesn't mean importance. So yeah, I think as lenders are going about there trying to figure out where am I slotting all of these different projects? Make sure that it is truly an important project, not an urgent one, not just urgent, but it is important to your mission, whatever that mission may be.
I love that. Any final thoughts, Mike?
No, I think this is great. Definitely encourage everyone to go visit booth 320 at the ICE experience. So really happy that you guys could join us for Mortgage Decrypt.